The criminal's dark day began when he entered a convenience store. After choosing to buy a choco pie, he took out a counterfeit 5,001 bill to pay. But with just one glance, the chubby boy at the counter immediately discovered that it was a counterfeit. Although Kwang-soo looked slow and a bit chubby, he possessed extraordinary observation and memory skills. Not a single detail escaped his eyes. Seeing that his actions were exposed, the criminal tried to pretend to be the victim, but Kwang-soo and his mother quickly realized the trick, because in his wallet there were many such counterfeit bills. Seeing that he could not deceive the mother and son, the criminal began to threaten that he would kill anyone who dared to report him. The mother immediately fell into a dilemma. She was wondering whether to let the criminal go or not. However, Kwang-soo soon chose the best solution, which was to close the rolling door. Kwang-soo locked his mother and the criminal together. The criminal was not worried at all, but instead threatened him. He immediately started attacking the mother. At the same time, Kwang-soo was looking for someone to save him. Although the boy had called the police, the criminal was still very confident that he would definitely deal with the mother before the police arrived and fled the scene. Sure enough, the mother could not fight back against the criminal. She was pinned to the floor by him, unable to call for help. A neighbor passed by the door. While the criminal was distracted, the mother bit his hand painfully. Because of that, she had a chance to escape from the criminal's hands. At this time, Kwang-soo quickly led the police to run over. When the door was opened, the police saw the mother holding a bag of rice. Then she jumped up and threw it straight at the criminal's face. This throw caused the criminal to fall to the ground unconscious. Kwang-soo also clapped his hands to congratulate his mother for winning. The criminal was escorted away with an unwilling expression. When he passed by Kwang-soo, the criminal clenched his teeth and said that they would definitely meet again. In the end, the criminal was sentenced to 5 years in prison. The news about Kwang-soo and his mother catching criminals was also published. Not only that, they also received interviews on television. The convenience store has become a famous place on social networks. Every day, countless people come here to shop. There are even reporters who come to interview the smart and brave boy. The reporters said that Kwang-soo certainly has big dreams, but when standing in front of the camera, Kwang-soo replied that he just wanted to become the owner of a convenience store to protect customers in society. A few years later, when the roads were optimized, the old convenience store was also renovated and more spacious, becoming a large supermarket. Kwang-soo went to the supermarket every day to help his mother. One day, when Kwang-soo was arranging the goods, he discovered an open box of choco pie. Inside the box was a 5,001 check. On the box was written, "I will definitely come back." The criminal's warning made Kwang-soo panic and feel uneasy. Time passed quickly. Kwang-soo is now an adult. However, Kwang-soo did not become an outstanding person, as everyone expected. Kwang-soo even failed the civil service exam again and again. Today, Kwang-soo went to his girlfriend's house to meet his future father-in-law. But unexpectedly, Kwang-soo has grown up but is still as naive as ever. Kwang-soo's gift to meet his future father-in-law is a pineapple. The father-in-law and son-in-law were embarrassed by each other's stinky feet as soon as they sat down. The father-in-law asked Kwang-soo what his job was. Kwang-soo replied that he did nothing. The father-in-law continued to ask Kwang-soo what his plans were for the future. Kwang-soo replied that he had no plans yet. The father-in-law asked what Kwang-soo's father did for a living. The foolish Kwang-soo said that his father only stayed at home to eat and sleep. Hearing this, the father-in-law got really angry and pulled out a 1-meter-long wooden stick. The father-in-law asked what Kwang-soo's mother did for a living. Kwang-soo said that his mother only stayed at home. The father-in-law immediately swung the stick at Kwang-soo. Now the family meal was no longer edible. The girlfriend was very disappointed in Kwang-soo. She asked Kwang-soo why he had such a low EQ. Sometimes being too honest was stupid. Kwang-soo held his girlfriend's hand and apologized. He thought his girlfriend wanted to break up with him by saying that, but in fact, his girlfriend did not want to break up with Kwang-soo. She asked Kwang-soo if he knew that the land in his family's supermarket was skyrocketing in price. She believed that when society was re-established, Kwang-soo could completely rely on his family's supermarket to become a rich man. Hearing this, Kwang-soo immediately gave up his dream of becoming a civil servant. Kwang-soo packed his luggage and returned home. When he got home, he saw his mother and a group of workers changing the signboard. After asking the workers, Kwang-soo knew that the supermarket needed to change to a new owner. Kwang-soo felt sad. The only property that Kwang-soo was proud of now had to be transferred to someone else. Kwang-soo was crying when his mother came and said that the supermarket was not sold. It was just changed to her name. She thought about it and found that Kwang-soo had not contributed anything to the supermarket. So on what basis did the supermarket name have Kwang-soo's name? That's why she made this decision. Not only that, her mother also asked Kwang-soo to be independent independent. Kwang-soo had absolutely no way to rely on his family for a single penny. However, Kwang-soo had just failed the civil service exam and had no money left in his pocket, so Kwang-soo could only beg his mother to let him stay at the supermarket to work. Kwang-soo could just become an ordinary worker. His mother thought for a moment and then replied that she would let Kwang-soo stay at the supermarket warehouse temporarily, but Kwang-soo had to pay money to stay there. At the same time, she would also pay Kwang-soo a monthly salary. His mother gave Kwang-soo a 1-month trial period. Every day, Kwang-soo wore his employee uniform and worked hard at the supermarket. Not only that, Kwang-soo also had to do morning exercises with the other workers. Because many supermarkets started offering food delivery services, Kwang-soo's supermarket's income was struggling. This time, his mother was determined to find the best way to save the supermarket. At this time, the mother discovered that the guy in charge of the fresh food area suddenly quit his job. In order to make up for the lack of manpower, she had to call Chief Kim of the police station, because Chief Kim had previously promised to introduce her to an employee. After receiving the information, Police Officer Kim immediately sent someone to the supermarket. The interviewee was a young boy. He had experience doing similar work before, but the remarkable thing was that he had been in prison 3 times. Mrs. Lee immediately called Police Officer Kim out and blamed him for introducing someone who had been in prison to her store. Mrs. Lee could not stop thinking that this boy was a thief. How could she entrust her supermarket to such a person? However, Police Officer Kim interrupted her. He kept comforting her that she should rest assured. The boy committed the crime only because of unspeakable suffering, and the boy's heart was extremely kind. While they were arguing, the boy took the initiative to stand up and frankly said that he didn't want to work and hear people doubting him. If Mrs. Lee hated the boy so much, she didn't need to force him to accept him. When she heard the boy say that, Mrs. Lee felt a little self-reproach in her heart. Outside the supermarket, Ah-hee was sitting in a police car. It turned out that she was a police officer. When her father knew that Kwang-soo was a worthless person, he forbade her from dating him. Kwang-soo knocked on the car door and gave Ah-hee a box of vegetables. Every symbol on the box of vegetables was the words that Kwang-soo wanted to say to Ah-hee. Kwang-soo begged her not to leave him. It seemed that this time, Ah-hee felt extremely desperate. They had known each other for more than 20 years, but Kwang-soo had no ambition at all. Kwang-soo basically didn't know what he wanted to do. Ah-hee told Kwang-soo that she was preparing to get to know another man. The relationship between the two will be severed from here on. After saying that, Ah-hee drove away. At this time, Mrs. Lee had already found the boy from earlier. In the end, she was still defeated by compassion. She decided to let the boy work at the supermarket. From now on, the boy would be in charge of the fresh food counter. Kwang-soo returned to the supermarket and started working. At this time, the neighbor girl So-yoon came to buy things for her parents. So-yoon brought out a slipper that she picked up on the main road. So-yoon asked if Kwang-soo could find the owner of the slipper. Kwang-soo was very confident. He had a good memory and a good eye for people. So-yoon originally had a pair of fiery eyes. Immediately, Kwang-soo remembered the image of a girl. She was the owner of that pair of slipper. She was a regular customer of the supermarket. Hearing that, So-yoon put the slipper in the supermarket's lost bag. At this time, Mrs. Lee came out. She felt very sorry for So-yoon because recently there was a rumor that her mother had been missing for a long time. The fat Aunt Haiwon also added that So-yoon's mother had been hospitalized because of illness. So-yoon's father had also become emaciated recently. He drank alcohol every day. However, the situation of the supermarket was not optimistic because there were too many competitors and many good delivery services. The regular customers of the supermarket had not come back to buy goods for a long time. The supermarket was facing the risk of closing down. This made Mrs. Lee extremely embarrassed with the supplier. Kwang-soo took the initiative to propose a solution. If the competitor had the advantage in delivery, he decided to include his dedicated service to attract customers. In each order delivered, Kwang-soo would give a package of choco pie. Although Kwang-soo did not like this dish very much, its meaning was very good. It shows that the supermarket is not only a place to shop, but also a family that cares about customers. At night, Kwang-soo started to deliver. Kwang-soo took some time to go to the house of the owner of the slippers, but Kwang-soo accidentally saw a bag hanging outside her door. Inside the bag was a pack of choco pie, a pair of leather socks, and beside it were a few open express delivery boxes. Kwang-soo felt a little suspicious. Kwang-soo knocked on the door several times but no one answered, so Kwang-soo had to go back. On the way, an old man who often practiced nunchaku in the park suddenly blocked Kwang-soo's way. Then the old man raised his hand to perform a nunchaku show. But this time the old man failed because his limbs were too weak. He let the nunchaku fly into the grass. Kwang-soo took this opportunity opportunity to run really fast, but Kwang-soo heard the old man's loud scream. Uneasy, Kwang-soo decided to step into the lawn. Kwang-soo only saw the old man panicking, his hand pointing forward. There was a little girl lying motionless. Her feet were only wearing a slipper that So-yoon had picked up. The dead person was the regular customer that Kwang-soo had just visited. Next to the body was a chocolate bag cover that had fallen out. Kwang-soo really hated this type of cake. It seemed like it would only bring him trouble. That year, when criminals wanted to use counterfeit money to exchange for real money, they also bought choco pie. In Kwang-soo's mind, those images seemed to be replaying. The people around had all held choco pie, so whose cake cover next to the body was it? After reporting to the police, the authorities quickly arrived at the scene. They asked Kwang-soo a few questions. Unexpectedly, Kwang-soo had just spoken and provided extremely valuable information. The dead person was a kindergarten teacher. She lives alone and is receiving treatment for depression. From the victim's phone number to her whereabouts, her personal life status, and even the news about the old man's life, Kwang-soo answered everything very fluently. Kwang-soo is someone who can understand everything. The police were surprised by the huge amount of information that Kwang-soo knew, but a veteran like Inspector Jung was not surprised, because Kwang-soo was no different from a local in this area. Early in the morning, Hae-won rushed into the supermarket in a panic. She informed everyone about the horrific murder last night, and the person who discovered the body was Kwang-soo. Although Mrs. Lee tried to act indifferent, her expression showed obvious anxiety. She coldly took out a pile of new slogan stickers. Then she asked everyone to stick them on shopping bags. At this time, So-yoon went to the supermarket to buy things again. So-yoon then took out a pink slipper. This was also the slipper that So-yoon had picked up at the feet of the Virgin Mary in the church. This was extremely important news. Kwang-soo wanted to ask more questions, but So-yoon immediately changed the subject. So-yoon said that she had seen Ah-hee wearing makeup and looking very pretty and preparing to go on a blind date. This news made Kwang-soo's mind explode in an instant. So-yoon could not concentrate on the supermarket's work. Kwang-soo asked an employee to replace her. Then Kwang-soo ran to the police station to check on the situation. However, Kwang-soo still did not see Ah-hee. On the way home, Kwang-soo passed by the statue of the Virgin Mary. Kwang-soo accidentally discovered a pill under her feet. Looking at the pill, Kwang-soo immediately remembered an important detail. There were also quite a few pills next to the body. Kwang-soo glanced around and found that there were similar pills. The pills were lined up in order, as if they were leading Kwang-soo to a hidden corner. There was a woman's sock there. At this time, Officer Kim stood behind and called out to Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo immediately stuffed the sock into his pocket, pretending that nothing had happened. But Officer Kim quickly noticed Kwang-soo's abnormality. Officer Kim did not speak directly, but only advised Kwang-soo to tell him what he knew, because Officer Kim was only worried about Kwang-soo. Officer Kim still clearly remembered that a few years after the fraud case, a mysterious person broke into the supermarket. Fortunately, Kwang-soo and his mother were not in any danger. The mother, wanting to protect Kwang-soo, decided to give in to avoid trouble. She asked Officer Kim to conceal the existence of this incident. Officer Kim accepted her request. However, Officer Kim followed the blood trail alone to the dump. It seems that Police Officer Kim has discovered an object in the trash can. Back to the present, Kwang-soo has returned to work at the supermarket. Today, the ward chairman could not buy the paper socks she wanted, so she got angry with Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo had no choice but to take out another style and give it to the ward chairman. The chairman pulled the paper socks hard to check the quality, but this action made Kwang-soo feel like an idea was coming to him. After that, Kwang-soo ran like the wind to the sock rack. Kwang-soo took a pair of socks from each style. Immediately after that, Kwang-soo ran like the wind back home. Kwang-soo started pulling the paper socks one by one, because the socks Kwang-soo brought back were of very good quality. No matter how Kwang-soo pulled them, they would not break. Kwang-soo thought that this was most likely the murder weapon used to strangle the victim. After having this speculation, Kwang-soo called Ah-hee to ask for some information about the case. Kwang-soo asked if the victim's death was due to strangulation. Ah-hee was surprised. What Kwang-soo said was not wrong, but this was internal information of the police department. She did not know how Kwang-soo got this information. Kwang-soo immediately made an appointment to meet Ah-hee. Kwang-soo had important information to provide. Then Kwang-soo gave Ah-hee the pill and socks. He hoped that with these clues, she could make great achievements and be promoted smoothly. From there, he could also become a good husband. This was originally a good thing, but he did not expect to be lectured by Ah-hee. She did not want Kwang-soo to be a good husband to her. She just wanted Kwang-soo to believe in what he was doing so that he could shine brightly in his field. She did not want him to be an ordinary person all day long. Today is the supermarket's promotion day. The supermarket's employees can get a 50% discount amount. The new fresh food counter employee immediately brought a pile of goods to pay. Among them were 2 pairs of paper socks. Kwang-soo curiously asked John-kyu if the boy bought the paper socks for his mother or his girlfriend. However, John-kyu ignored Kwang-soo's question. This made Kwang-soo even more suspicious. Late at night, a girl suddenly burst into the supermarket and screamed. She questioned who had sent her these strange gifts. Mrs. Lee immediately went up to check the bag. However, these goods were not sent by the supermarket. Hearing this, the girl's spirit was extremely depressed. Other employees also came to check the bag, and they discovered that there were some used sanitary napkins inside. This showed that this girl had often received threats and harassment from strangers. At this time, Kwang-soo saw a pair of paper socks in the bag. These socks were identical to the socks of the recently deceased victim. The girl was extremely scared when she heard this. She asked the supermarket to delete her membership information. Hearing this, Kwang-soo immediately opened her profile to check. After that, Kwang-soo announced that the prisoner could be a regular customer of the supermarket because those paper socks were only sold at this supermarket. Mrs. Lee immediately asked Kwang-soo to be quiet. She warned Kwang-soo not to bring more trouble to the supermarket. After saying that, Mrs. Lee asked the girl to leave quickly. Mrs. Lee even asked the girl to throw the things she brought into the trash can. At this time, Ha-won next to her sarcastically said that Mrs. Lee was worried that the supermarket would soon be closed. Hearing these words, Mrs. Lee and Ha-won began to argue. However, Ha-won was also a hot-tempered person, so during the argument, the two women rushed to fight. Kwang-soo jumped in to stop him, but he was immediately punched in the face. This punch made Kwang-soo unable to control himself anymore. All of this was caused by that perverted criminal. Kwang-soo would definitely make him pay. Afterwards, Kwang-soo picked up the bag from the trash and brought it back to his residence to start researching. Kwang-soo printed out the sales receipts one by one, then compared them with the goods in the bag with the hope of finding the customer who bought the goods. The number of goods that needed to be screened was huge, but fortunately, a colleague came to help Kwang-soo. At this time, Kwang-soo suddenly had an idea. Kwang-soo filtered out a list of criminals with criminal records living in this area. From there, Kwang-soo could narrow down the search. Colleagues couldn't help but praise Kwang-soo for being so smart. From childhood to adulthood, Kwang-soo has always been a person with extraordinary intelligence. But just because of an incident in high school, Kwang-soo became depressed. From then on, Kwang-soo neglected his studies. Kwang-soo heard this and immediately interrupted his colleague. Kwang-soo did not want to remember what happened back then. After Mrs. Lee closed the supermarket, she stood under the supermarket gate and remembered a night many years ago. At that time, Kwang-soo was still in high school. That day, Mrs. Lee was closing the store alone when she was suddenly attacked. The attacker was a criminal who used counterfeit money. His first thing after being released from prison was to find Kwang-soo and his mother to take revenge. Not long after, Kwang-soo also came to the supermarket. Kwang-soo saw his mother being attacked by a criminal again. At that moment, Kwang-soo picked up a can of water and threw it straight at the criminal. The scene stopped here. Mrs. Lee did not want to think anymore. She only wanted her family to be safe. She did not want to face any more danger. The next day, Mrs. Lee decided to quit her job at the supermarket. After that, she wore a cool leather outfit and drove a motorcycle. She quickly became a high-class delivery driver. She told her son that she had to use this method to inquire about her competitors. At the same time, while delivering goods, she quietly threw away flyers from other supermarkets. At night, Mrs. Lee went to the house of the girl who was being harassed. But Mrs. Lee discovered that a man was sneaking around to open the door. She immediately jumped up and fought with him. However, she quickly realized that the man was So-yoon's father. He explained that he was doing real estate work. Because of some reasons related to water leakage, he needed to open the girl's door, and the girl agreed to this. After saying that, So-yoon's father asked Mrs. Lee to go inside to check with him. Unexpectedly, when they opened the door, they discovered the body of a girl. Next to the body was a can of red and yellow liquid. Meanwhile, Kwang-soo was thinking about the large amount of medicine scattered around the body. Kwang-soo immediately sent a message to Ah-hee to ask what the medicine was used to treat. However, Kwang-soo knew that it was not medicine, but just a type of candy. Hearing this, Kwang-soo suddenly thought of a children's toy in his dealership. This candy matched the candy at the crime scene. At this time, Hae-won came to provide clues. There was an elderly man who often came to the supermarket to buy this type of candy. Based on this information, Kwang-soo immediately searched the internet for information about the eating habits of criminals with criminal records living in this area. Scrolling to the photo of a man, Kwang-soo felt that he was very familiar. At this time, a female part-time employee passed by and said that this man's eyes were exactly like the eyes of the old man who often practiced practiced nunchaku. Kwang-soo immediately asked Ah-hee about the old man's news. The old man was currently in the hospital. Ah-hee also wanted to learn about this old man. She discovered that the old man's actual age was much different from his appearance, so she wanted to investigate the old man's identity. A moment later, Kwang-soo and Ah-hee arrived at the hospital, but they discovered that the old man had gone out for a long time and he only left a white wig by the bed. Kwang-soo and Ah-hee had to go to the hospital lobby to wait. While going out for a walk, Kwang-soo accidentally bumped into a man. When he turned around, Kwang-soo discovered that it was the old man who often practiced nunchaku. However, at this time, his face was completely different. It turned out that it was the criminal who made counterfeit money. Unexpectedly, this criminal was always hiding next to Kwang-soo. At this moment, the criminal's eyes looked very fierce. He took a small knife and held it to Ah-hee's neck. Kwang-soo picked up the peach juice can on the ground and prepared to throw it at the criminal. But at this moment, Kwang-soo suddenly remembered the past. One day, when Kwang-soo was arranging the goods, Kwang-soo discovered an opened box of chocopie. Inside the box was a 5,000 won check, and on the box was written, "I will definitely come back." Not long after, the criminal appeared in the supermarket and attacked Kwang-soo's mother. When Kwang-soo discovered it, he immediately grabbed the peach juice can in his hand. Immediately after, the peach juice flew into the criminal's head and he passed out on the spot. Blood was flowing non-stop. Police Kim helped Kwang-soo cover up the blood. Back to the present, that past did not repeat itself a second time because Ah-hee was not a weak girl, but a brave police officer. A turn of her shoulder subdued the criminal. Kwang-soo suspiciously approached the criminal. Then Kwang-soo lifted his hair and discovered a wound on his scalp. To confirm that the person in front of him was the counterfeit money criminal, Kwang-soo asked him to repeat what the criminal had said that year. Kwang-soo found the tone of these two people very similar. Kwang-soo was sure this was the criminal that year. Ah-hee felt suspicious because in the past, Ah-hee had known that the counterfeit money criminal had been killed by Kwang-soo. Time returned to when Kwang-soo was in high school. Mrs. Lee was at the supermarket when she was attacked. That night, Ah-hee was preparing a gift for Kwang-soo. Waiting until her parents fell asleep, Ah-hee sneaked out. While standing in front of the supermarket's glass door, she saw Kwang-soo throw a can of gold mining juice straight at the criminal. Blood was flowing from the criminal's head. He then fell unconscious. Ah-hee panicked and threw the gift at the supermarket's main door and quickly ran away. Hearing what Ah-hee said, Kwang-soo was so confused that he couldn't say a word. But very quickly, Kwang-soo regained his composure. Kwang-soo told the criminal that even if the criminal wanted to take revenge on Kwang-soo, he couldn't intentionally kill the supermarket's customers. Unexpectedly, the criminal turned back to look at Kwang-soo and shouted loudly that he had professional rules. He had always only stolen and never killed. At this time, Ah-hee and Kwang-soo were preparing to tie the criminal up and take him to the police station. At the same time, both of them received a phone call. The information of the two calls was the same, that the police had discovered a new body. Ah-hee and Kwang-soo had no choice but to take the counterfeit money criminal to the scene of the murder. They discovered that the criminal was still alive. Mrs. Lee and Police Kim were both speechless. That year, after Kwang-soo injured the criminal, Police Kim followed the blood trail to the trash can. There, Police Kim saw the criminal breathing his last. However, Police Kim did not save the criminal and turned away. After that, nothing happened in the small town. No one reported the murder and no body was found. The criminal just disappeared. Now he blames Police Kim for abandoning his life that year. Mrs. Lee shouted loudly that a perverted criminal like him should have died. That year, because he disappeared, it had a serious impact on Kwang-soo's psychology. At that time, Kwang-soo was in high school. Kwang-soo always lived in fear. Kwang-soo was worried that the criminal would return to take revenge. Because of this train of thought, from that day on, Kwang-soo began to fall into a state of psychological instability. Kwang-soo could not concentrate on studying, so his exams were not smooth. It was clear that Kwang-soo was a prodigy since childhood, but gradually he became a loser. Kwang-soo could only stay at the supermarket to work. At this time, the inspectors from the police station arrived at the scene. The criminal was quickly taken away. When Kwang-soo was on his way home, he accidentally saw the figure of a boy wearing a hat walking in the hallway. But Kwang-soo did not pay much attention. Only then did Mrs. Lee know that Ah-hee was a witness to the case that year. Mrs. Lee could not help but feel sorry because Ah-hee was still young at that time, but had to suffer such a great shock. Moreover, Ah-hee had to keep it a secret for so many years. She must have been very miserable. At this moment, Ah-hee burst into tears. From the moment she witnessed the incident that year, she wanted to become a police officer in the future, precisely because she wanted to protect Kwang-soo from the criminal. Mrs. Lee immediately comforted Ah-hee and thanked Ah-hee for her silent protection. Fortunately, the criminal was caught. The not knot in Mrs. Lee's heart was also untied. Mrs. Lee no longer had to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the supermarket to check. Now that the danger was resolved, Kwang-soo no longer needed to go to the supermarket to work. Kwang-soo could do the job he wanted. However, Kwang-soo wanted to do it to the end. Kwang-soo wanted to stay at the supermarket and work for a full month. Kwang-soo wanted to help the supermarket increase sales. Mrs. Lee laughed when she heard that. The scene at this moment was truly peaceful and happy. But in the pile of grass behind, there seemed to be a mysterious gaze watching them. After overcoming these storms, Ah-hee and Kwang-soo rekindled their old love. Kwang-soo told Ah-hee that he was very concerned about the murder that happened in this small town. The last time Kwang-soo met his regular customer was when she went to the supermarket to buy things. The item she bought before she died was the toy washing machine that Kwang-soo was holding in his hand. The customer told Kwang-soo that there was a unique recipe. Just pour soju and beer into the washing machine and it will produce a very delicious drink. This drink has a very good stress-relieving effect. The customer was clearly a good person. I don't understand why she had such a tragic fate. Meanwhile, Inspector Jung was near the crime scene. Inspector Jung discovered a two-wheeled vehicle at the crime scene. Inspector Jung then interrogated the criminal. Through the surveillance camera, Inspector Jung noticed that the criminal often loitered in front of the victim's house. When the police mentioned the criminal's motive, he angrily said that he wanted to take revenge on Kwang-soo and his mother. That's why he deliberately did strange things around the supermarket's customers. His purpose was to make the supermarket unable to sell anymore. He swore that he had never killed anyone. He even started blaming Kwang-soo because Kwang-soo had almost killed him many times. The next day, while working at the supermarket, Hye-won, with a troubled expression, told her other colleagues that she suspected that the supermarket was haunted. Two regular customers of the supermarket died, and Kwang-soo's mother and Kwang-soo also discovered dead bodies one after another. In addition, Kwang-soo always failed the civil service exam. Hye-won was worried that the supermarket would be closed, which would mean that all the employees here would lose their jobs. But what worries Hye-won the most is herself. Because she has worked at the supermarket for a long time, she is afraid that she will be implicated. Kwang-soo, who is eating next to her, heard all of this, but Inspector Jung pretended not to hear anything. At this time, Hye-won spoke up and said that she had gone to the police station to inquire about information. She said that the police temporarily designated the criminal as a harasser. It is said that this criminal also has other accomplices. After listening, Kwang-soo immediately rushed out of the supermarket. First, Inspector Jung confirmed with Ah-hee what Hye-won had said. Ah-hee nodded silently, because legally, there is still not enough evidence to prove that the criminal is a murderer. Soon, the criminal will be released again. Kwang-soo suddenly remembered a detail. Next to the victim's body was a choco pie. Moreover, on the ground nearby was a can of peach juice. No matter what the detail, it was related to the grudge between Kwang-soo and the criminal. The criminal was definitely related to the murderer. However, as soon as Kwang-soo finished speaking, Ah-hee immediately reminded Kwang-soo that because there was an element related to Kwang-soo, the police might suspect him. After that, Kwang-soo was not allowed to mention these things anymore. As expected, it was just as Ah-hee said. At this time, Inspector Jung reopened the camera footage. Late that night, a man with a body similar to Kwang-soo sneaked into the building where the woman lived. Before that, Inspector Jung had seen a two-wheeled vehicle. This made Inspector Jung suspicious. Chun-kyu always worked hard at the fresh food counter. The boy made a strong impression with his obedient appearance and bright smile. Moreover, the boy also has the ability to communicate quickly and sweetly. These things have made the female customers feel extremely happy. The stinky fresh food area has now become the place that attracts the most customers in the supermarket. His colleagues need to learn from him, but Kwang-soo does not have a good impression of this boy, because on the day of the murder, Kwang-soo saw a boy wearing a very suspicious hat. That boy looked a lot like Chun-kyu. Kwang-soo began to secretly observe the boy. Kwang-soo discovered that Chun-kyu was very interested in girls who lived alone. Kwang-soo also checked the boy's documents, which confirmed that the boy lived in the same apartment building as the victim. Kwang-soo shared his suspicions about Chun-kyu with Ah-hee, but Ah-hee thought that Kwang-soo was too sensitive. How could a boy do such a terrible thing? Unable to gain his girlfriend's trust, Kwang-soo decided to find out for himself. While Chun-kyu was working, Kwang-soo took the locker key and slowly opened the boy's locker. Kwang-soo discovered a makeup bag inside and also a pair of women's underwear. Coincidentally, Chun-kyu wanted to go back to get new fish slaughtering gloves. Kwang-soo panicked and was confused, but he still managed to clean up everything before Chun-kyu returned. Kwang-soo then broke into Chun-kyu's house. Here, Kwang-soo discovered a lot of women's clothes in the closet. Among them were paper socks and especially a familiar familiar jacket. It was the shirt the victim wore that night. Kwang-soo immediately informed Ah-hee of this news. At this time, Cheon-kyu had also returned home. It turned out that the boy had sold all the fresh food, so he was able to go home early. Kwang-soo had no choice but to quickly grab his shoes and jump out the window. Kwang-soo looked like a lizard clinging to the wall of the building. Fortunately, Cheon-kyu did not notice anyone breaking into his house. The boy just closed the window and immediately sat down in his room. Then he took a wig and started grooming it. From outside the window, Kwang-soo also saw this scene. Ah-hee heard on the phone and knew that Kwang-soo was in trouble, so she immediately ran to rescue him. Ah-hee quickly climbed up the window. At this time, Cheon-kyu was putting on makeup. Kwang-soo and Ah-hee kept staring at the boy until it got dark. After putting on makeup, Cheon-kyu dressed up as a girl and left the house. Kwang-soo and Ah-hee followed behind the boy, but when they reached a crowded city, they lost track of the boy. At the same time, Ye-jin was alone on her way home. Strangely, she always felt like someone was watching her from behind. Feeling worried, she tried to speed up to get home quickly. The next day, Ye-jin went to work in a panic. She told her colleagues, "Last night, when she was walking through a crowded area, a man kept following her to the door." This sentence made everyone feel uneasy. At this time, a kind colleague named Do-hoon took the initiative to suggest that in the next few days, he would escort Ye-jin home. Kwang-soo focused all his suspicions on Cheon-kyu. Kwang-soo then told Do-hoon to be especially careful when taking Ye-jin home. If the person following her was Cheon-kyu at the fresh food counter, he should not act rashly. Instead, Do-hoon had to immediately contact Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo saw that Do-hoon had feelings for Ye-jin and quickly stopped her because she was also married and no longer single. Not long after, the supermarket's glass door suddenly broke. Kwang-soo quickly ran out. It turned out that the criminal was holding a rock and throwing it at the supermarket with the puffmalister intention of destroying it. When he saw Kwang-soo, he cursed Kwang-soo severely. He criticized Kwang-soo because when Kwang-soo was young, Kwang-soo was too self-centered. It was Kwang-soo who destroyed his originally good life. Not only that, the criminal also showed off the scar on his head for everyone on the street to see. He said that this was evidence that Kwang-soo had wanted to kill him. Kwang-soo originally wanted to give in to let things go, but the criminal said that he did not want to reconcile. He wanted to destroy this supermarket to take revenge on Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo could not bear it anymore. He stood in front of the criminal and threatened him fiercely. Kwang-soo reminded the criminal not to forget the scar on his head. At this time, the criminal had achieved his goal. In the end, Kwang-soo fell into his trap. Kwang-soo himself admitted to the attempted murder years ago. The police were also standing behind. In fact, this was just a play in which the police and the criminal cooperated with each other. The police suspected that Kwang-soo was the real culprit of the murders because the shopping bag hanging on the victim's door had Kwang-soo's fingerprints. Immediately afterwards, the police went to Kwang-soo's room to conduct an investigation. They discovered many strange paper socks and women's items in Kwang-soo's room. This made Kwang-soo even more suspicious. Kwang-soo could only explain that he suspected that the victim had been strangled to death. Therefore, he held different pairs of socks to test their elasticity. Inspector Jung's face was full of doubt. He asked Kwang-soo what reason he had to conduct such an investigation. At this time, Mrs. Lee had returned. She angrily chased Inspector Jung out of the house, but in the end, Inspector Jung still escorted Kwang-soo to the police station for interrogation. Looking at the documents collected about Kwang-soo, Inspector Jung knew that Kwang-soo was a miserable failure. Kwang-soo took the civil service exam many times but still failed, so Kwang-soo went to work as an employee at the family's supermarket. Moreover, Kwang-soo didn't even have a room to rent. Kwang-soo could only move to a small room in the supermarket. Coincidentally, that was the day the victim had an accident. Especially Kwang-soo was the son of the supermarket owner, so knowing the customer's information was as easy as turning his hand. Another point is that Kwang-soo was the one who almost killed the counterfeit money criminal. Putting these things together, Kwang-soo could very well be a murderous pervert. Kwang-soo was completely helpless when he heard this. Even Kwang-soo couldn't have imagined that his life would be so miserable. Inspector Jung had already considered Kwang-soo a cold-blooded killer, and Kwang-soo didn't know how to explain himself. At the supermarket, the news that Kwang-soo was a murderer spread everywhere. When customers heard the news, they were all very confused. They threw away their belongings and ran away. Even the smart and adorable boy at the raw food counter couldn't hold back customers. The supermarket immediately became extremely deserted. With this situation, sooner or later, the supermarket would have to close. The arrest period had passed, and the police had no more evidence, so they had to let Kwang-soo go. Kwang-soo had just returned to the supermarket when he met So-yoon. Outside the door, So-yoon told Kwang-soo that the whole small town was rumoring that Kwang-soo was the supermarket killer, and because of this rumor, the supermarket might be closed. Looking at Kwang-soo's back as he entered the supermarket, So-yoon thought to herself that maybe Kwang-soo wasn't a murderer. Kwang-soo went upstairs. His mother was frying tofu to celebrate his release, but Kwang-soo ate the tofu with a bitter heart. It might be difficult for Kwang-soo to clear this injustice, but no matter how difficult it was, Kwang-soo would not give up. That night, Kwang-soo and his mother invited Ah-hee to their house. There, the three of them formed a team to solve the case. Kwang-soo said that the person he suspected was the boy selling fresh food, because in Chon-kyu's house there were a lot of paper socks, and in the boy's closet there was a shirt exactly like the victim's shirt. More importantly, Chon-kyu always wore women's clothes to walk on the street. This was enough to prove that he was a pervert, but Kwang-soo's evidence was completely denied by Mrs. Lee. She said that these things were probably just a coincidence and could not be used as evidence. After careful discussion, the group of three decided to make a list of the supermarket's employees. Then, they investigated each person to find a suspect. The first person to follow was the fat aunt Hye-won. Hye-won had always wanted to buy an apartment. Currently, there have been 2 murder cases. This caused the price of the house to naturally plummet. For Hye-won, this was a golden opportunity to buy a house. In recent days, she had been listening to information everywhere about which homeowners were selling their houses. Sure enough, Hye-won went to So-yoon's father. It turned out that Hye-won had targeted the house of the recently deceased female victim. Hye-won enthusiastically persuaded So-yoon's father to sell the house to her. Standing in the room of the house, Hye-won did not show any fear. On the contrary, Hye-won expressed her excitement at the opportunity to buy the house at a low price. After completing the investigation of Hye-won, Kwang-soo happily returned to the supermarket to continue investigating his other colleagues, but they were very sensitive. It only took a while for them to realize that Kwang-soo was probing them. At the same time, Kwang-soo's father had a close relationship with the president of the Women's Association. He told Ah-hee and Mrs. Lee about a rumor. Hye-won and the president of the Women's Association had recently been playing mahjong together. This made everyone suspicious. The president of the Women's Association had a bad relationship with the Community Redevelopment Alliance because she opposed the redevelopment of the area. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, the president of the Community Development Association received a lot of money. The behavior of the president of the Women's Association prevented the workers from receiving compensation. Hye-won recently tried to spread the news of the murder in the small town in order to force the price of houses to drop sharply. Then she went to buy houses at a cheap price. If you look at it like this, Hye-won is definitely a person who is selfish. However, Kwang-soo did not believe it. Could it be that Hye-won was willing to kill someone just because she wanted to buy a cheap house? The person Kwang-soo suspected was still Chon-kyu. At this time, So-yoon also went to the supermarket to buy things. Today, So-yoon bought a lot of vegetables, but she said that she did not buy them because she liked to eat vegetables. Her expression was also a bit mysterious. After So-yoon left, Kwang-soo took Chon-kyu's door card and threw it in the lost and found area. At this time, Kwang-soo also noticed the slipper that So-yoon brought. At this time, police officer Kim happened to come to the supermarket. As soon as he saw it, he knew that this was the slipper of the murdered victim. Kwang-soo said that this was the slipper that So-yoon brought and threw here. Police officer Kim blamed Kwang-soo for not handing over the slipper to the police sooner because this was extremely important evidence. If so, So-yoon could very well be a witness to the case. This sentence woke Kwang-soo up. Kwang-soo remembered that he had asked So-yoon if she had seen anyone else besides the slipper. She seemed hesitant, as if So-yoon knew something. While Kwang-soo was talking to police Kim, Chon-kyu was standing behind listening to everything. The boy paid little attention to the slipper and So-yoon. Not long after, Kwang-soo discovered that Chon-kyu had left the supermarket at some point. Kwang-soo quickly realized that something was wrong. Kwang-soo told his mother that the candies that fell at the crime scene were most likely left by the murderer. So-yoon was most likely a witness. Immediately, Kwang-soo and his mother ran around looking for So-yoon, but she was not at home. So-yoon's father also did not know where his daughter was. Kwang-soo thought of Chon-kyu, who had also disappeared for no reason. A feeling of anxiety kept rising in Kwang-soo's heart. Kwang-soo wondered if So-yoon was kidnapped by Chon-kyu. Kwang-soo took Chon-kyu's house key from the lost and found area. Then Kwang-soo ran to Chon-kyu's house. Unexpectedly, Chon-kyu took the initiative to open the door. It turned out that the boy had already discovered that Kwang-soo had stolen his house key. The boy also knew that Kwang-soo had come to his house yesterday. Kwang-soo did not care about what the boy said. Kwang-soo rushed into the house to find So-yoon. At the decisive moment, Mrs. Lee rushed in and used an electric shock to make Chon-kyu faint. When he woke up, the boy was shocked to realize that he was was tied to a chair. Kwang-soo asked him why he had the girl's jacket. The boy explained that the jacket was a gift from the girl herself. That girl was also Chon-kyu's only friend. The boy's previous disguise was just a secret habit between him and his best friend. Seeing that Kwang-soo still didn't believe those words, Chon-kyu asked Kwang-soo to open the tea drawer under the bed. Inside was Cheon-kyu's medical record book. It turned out that the boy was LGBT. The person he really wanted inside was a girl. Because of this, the boy's growth process always encountered cold eyes from the people around him. But the boy could not have imagined that just because of his hobby of dressing like a girl, he would be considered a murderer. Hearing this, Kwang-soo's mother repeatedly apologized to him. After apologizing, she thought of looking for So-yoon. At the same time, So-yoon was running on the street. It seemed like she was running away from someone. Not long after, So-yoon skillfully crawled into a pile of trash. So-yoon's father was also looking for her. So-yoon looked very panicked. After calming down, So-yoon opened a small box, but she discovered that the phone she had hidden in it had disappeared. At this time, the counterfeit money criminal appeared. He also took the girl's phone. This criminal wanted to confirm whether So-yoon was a witness to the murder or not, but So-yoon did not answer. It turned out that Chon-kyu had known that So-yoon's father worked at a real estate company. Chon-kyu wanted to ask So-yoon where she picked up the slipper and what she saw, but So-yoon just insisted that she did not see anything. But Chon-kyu insisted that he had seen her. Obviously So-yoon intended to hide it. After that, So-yoon turned around and ran back to her secret base. Meanwhile, the counterfeit money criminal discovered So-yoon's secret base. He was a little curious, so he crawled inside. When he saw the phone, he conveniently opened it and felt extremely pleased. He had indeed found a treasure. However, when the criminal stepped out of the garbage, he was unfortunately seen by the ward chairman. The ward chairman spat, showing his contempt for this society. Because of insects like the criminal, everything was getting worse. Back to the present, the ward chairman once again saw the criminal. He was deliberately not returning the phone to So-yoon. The ward chairman was disgusted to see a tall man bullying a child. In the president's heart of the ward, there was a moment of madness. She picked up objects on the street and threw them straight at the criminal. The other party was agitated and turned his target to the ward chairman, taking advantage of fall. This moment, So-yoon quickly snatched the phone and hid behind the ward chairman. The ward's president intentionally hit the parked car under the building to attract attention. Then, she falsely accused the incident of the criminal. Very quickly, the angry owner of the car got out and beat the criminal. The police also arrived very quickly and took him away. At this time, Kwang-soo and his mother also arrived at the scene. Kwang-soo wanted to ask So-yoon some questions. However, she was quickly taken away by her father. Kwang-soo and her mother could only return to the supermarket. Ah-hee and police officer Kim also arrived later. Kwang-soo confirmed that the killer was not a counterfeit money criminal. Kwang-soo asked everyone to pay attention to So-yoon's feet because she was not wearing shoes, as if she had just run away from somewhere. If the criminal had kidnapped So-yoon and then she had escaped, then others would definitely see their silhouettes walking together. After hearing this, police officer Kim immediately took action. He went to the criminal's house to look for So-yoon's shoes everywhere. But after a while of searching, there were no results. Police Kim sternly warned the criminal to live quietly and not cause any more trouble. Otherwise, police Kim swore that he would put him in jail as soon as possible. Having no other choice, Kwang-soo wanted to personally ask So-yoon about everything. He kept calling until late at night before So-yoon's father picked up the phone, but So-yoon's father refused to let Kwang-soo talk to So-yoon. He also insisted that his daughter was not a witness. Finally, he asked Kwang-soo not to bother his family anymore. Of course, Kwang-soo did not believe what he said. After saying that, he quickly hung up. At this time, So-yoon was lying on the bed and was awakened by a nightmare. She screamed, "I can't see." When So-yoon woke up, her father asked her if she had witnessed something terrible, but So-yoon did not answer. After that, her father told So-yoon not to go to the supermarket alone anymore and not to talk to Kwang-soo anymore. If So-yoon was questioned by Kwang-soo, she would definitely tell her father first. So-yoon nodded in agreement. At the same time, Kwang-soo and Ah-hee were also discussing So-yoon's matter. This child had great curiosity and a very good memory, but up until now, she had never said what was on her mind. It could be seen that she was a child with a complex inner life. The first time she saw Ah-hee's body, she was extremely scared. Ah-hee wondered how a child like So-yoon would experience that. The next day, Kwang-soo went to work as usual, but when he passed by Chon-kyu, Kwang-soo felt a little ashamed. That's why Kwang-soo always lingered around the fresh food area. Kwang-soo wanted to apologize for misunderstanding Chon-kyu. Chon-kyu also told Kwang-soo not to feel guilty because he had forgotten the past. Not long after, Chon-kyu took the initiative initiative to meet Kwang-soo privately in the warehouse. Cheon-kyu noticed that Do-hoon's feelings for Ye-jin were a bit stubborn. Cheon-kyu also saw that Do-hoon often bought Ye-jin toilet paper and paper socks. This statement made Kwang-soo feel a bit suspicious. Kwang-soo immediately advised Do-hoon to control his behavior, because Do-hoon's love could very well be considered harassment, but Do-hoon ignored Kwang-soo's words. After work, Kwang-soo decided to follow Do-hoon and Ye-jin to observe the situation. On the way, Do-hoon acted gallantly, ready to protect the beauty, but Do-hoon's overly intimate gestures made Ye-jin uncomfortable. Not stopping there, when he arrived at Ye-jin's house, he took the initiative to hold her hand. Before Do-hoon could confess, Ye-jin jerked her hand away from him. She also said that he didn't need to take her home anymore. Do-hoon was rejected and felt sad. He turned around and left, but his eyes were filled with hatred. Do-hoon then looked up at Ye-jin's house with an angry expression. Not long after, a young man wearing a mysterious hat stood in front of Ye-jin's house. He even used a knife to break the door latch to enter the house. Ye-jin was scared in the house. She used a cabinet to block the door. Then she called the police in fear. Ah-hee and police Kim quickly arrived at Ye-jin's house. Ah-hee discovered that Ye-jin was alone at home. Ah-hee immediately asked about Ye-jin's husband's whereabouts. Ye-jin only replied that her husband was going abroad on business. Ah-hee still wanted to ask more, but was stopped by police. Kim, it seemed that Ye-jin had something difficult to say. Kwang-soo called Do-hoon, but the other party did not pick up. Do-hoon was drawing violently. His face was also full of anger. The next day, Ye-jin was so worried that she had to submit a resignation letter. Ye-jin thought carefully about this decision. Mrs. Lee also supported her decision. Do-hoon saw Ye-jin wanting to leave, so he wanted to talk to her, but immediately he was kicked by Mrs. Lee, causing him to fall to the ground. Mrs. Lee warned him to focus on his work and not to bother Ye-jin anymore. Do-hoon was sad. Then he went to the supermarket door to smoke. At this time, Kwang-soo also came and told his colleagues that after work they would go to the rooftop to hold a welcome party for Cheon-kyu. As Kwang-soo was walking away, Do-hoon asked Kwang-soo if he had seen his sketchbook, but Kwang-soo had no impression of it. That day, the ward chief went to the residents' houses to patrol. She discovered an apartment where no one lived, but the electricity meter was still working. She was curious to find out, but found that the main door was unlocked. The ward chairman went inside. At this time, the counterfeit money criminal also appeared. He locked the door and locked the ward chairman in the room. Then he left. The ward chairman went inside and found that there was nothing inside the room, only a large refrigerator that looked very unpleasant. The ward chairman opened the refrigerator. She was about to scream when suddenly a hand covered her mouth and dragged her away. At this time, it was almost time to get off work at the supermarket. Kwang-soo's father brought a claw machine to the supermarket. He said that this would be a treasure to help them earn more money. But Mrs. Lee didn't pay any attention to this damn machine. At the same time, So-yoon had just arrived at the supermarket. She originally wanted to hide the phone in the lost and found area of the supermarket. However, after seeing the bear claw machine, she took the opportunity to throw the phone into the bear claw machine. After work, Cheon-kyu went to the rooftop. In front of Kwang-soo and Ah-hee, Cheon-kyu confessed about his previous crimes. In fact, the person who reported the case was Cheon-kyu's family. Cheon-kyu wanted to leave his family to find a new life. The boy took the family's money just to have capital to do business. No one knew that his parents reported Cheon-kyu to the police for stealing money. They even sent him to a mental hospital, causing him to suffer torture. Kwang-soo and Ah-hee felt very sympathetic to the boy after hearing the story. At this time, part-time employee came uninvited. She also brought 2 boxes of meat that her co-worker had prepared. After that, she didn't say much, but sat down to eat naturally. Ah-hee opened the bag and found that there were only 2 boxes of meat, which was not enough for everyone. She suggested that everyone call her co-worker to ask him to bring some more food. However, Kwang-soo kept calling, but his colleague did not pick up. Kwang-soo felt that this was strange, but he still decided to continue eating. Not long after, Ah-hee had drunk quite a lot. Kwang-soo quickly took her to the bathroom. It was at this point that things started to get tense. Kwang-soo discovered a sketchbook on the table containing many violent images. There were even pictures of Ye-jin inside. Kwang-soo was sure that this notebook was left by Do-hoon. At this time, also entered because she had vomited on her clothes. Kwang-soo could only help her change. Unexpectedly, this embarrassing scene was seen by Mrs. Lee. Fortunately, she had more important things to handle. She asked her son to quickly deliver the goods because someone had placed an urgent order. Kwang-soo could only do as his mother said. At the same time, the ward chairman escaped from the room. She was scared and kept running. She accidentally fell from the railing. Kwang-soo passed by her, but because he was in a hurry, he didn't notice the abnormality. At this time, Haewon walked over from afar. Haewon noticed a strange smell on the lawn next to her and curiously went over to see. Ah-hee. Haiwan didn't expect to see the ward chairman so badly injured. The scene made people feel cold. Haiwan could only tremble and press the phone to call the police. After Wang Su finished delivering the goods, he took Ah-hee home. At this time, an ambulance siren rang. Ah-hee immediately sobered up. When she heard that, she followed the direction of the ambulance to the lobby of the residential area. Sure enough, she saw the city police also present at the scene. After checking, the police discovered a glue gun in the hallway of the building. It was very likely that this was the weapon that injured the ward chairman's eye. Inspector Jung knocked on the door of the room that the ward chairman had entered earlier. At this time, the counterfeit money criminal took the initiative to come out from the house next door and said that no one was there. Inspector Jung was very surprised that the counterfeit money criminal's house was here. Why is it that wherever there is a murder, he appears? This is definitely not just a coincidence. That night, Kwang Soo experienced a terrible nightmare. Kwang Soo found himself alone in a pitch-black supermarket. There were goods related to the counterfeit money criminal, and the objects here seemed to want to take revenge on him. A pair of pink slippers approached him, and a pair of paper socks were trying to tighten around his neck. In extreme fear, Kwang Soo suddenly woke up. When he opened his eyes, he saw Do-hoon holding a glue gun towards. In a panic, Kwang Soo hit Do-hoon's chin. The other party felt extremely sad because his colleague had come to Kwang Soo's rooftop early in the morning to help clean up. This made Kwang Soo feel a little guilty, but Kwang Soo was still a little skeptical. Kwang Soo asked his colleague why he didn't come to the party last night. The colleague only replied that he was in a bad mood, so he stayed at home all night. When he went to the supermarket to work, Do-hoon's mood was also not good because he texted Ye-jin a lot but didn't see her reply. At the same time, Haiwan came and informed him about the news of the ward chairman jumping from the building. Haiwan also added that before jumping, the ward chairman was brutally murdered. Her eyes were even burned by a glue gun. Haiwan's words made Mrs. Lee even more worried about Ye-jin. Taking advantage of her free time at work, Mrs. Lee went to visit Ye-jin at home. Mrs. Lee also brought some necessary items. Mrs. Lee told Ye-jin that if she needed anything, she should tell her and she would bring it to her. She also emphasized that Ye-jin should limit going out, especially at night. While Mrs. Lee was talking, Ye-jin's phone rang continuously. After Mrs. Lee left, Ye-jin answered the phone and asked the other person to choose a place to meet. Ever since Kwang Soo's father brought the claw machine, So-yoon often came here to play. However, So-yoon's purpose was not to get the animal, but to keep a gnawing eye on the bear with the phone. So-yoon was trying to guard it so that no one would take it away. The supermarket was operating normally when Inspector Jung suddenly burst in. Inspector Jung asked Kwang Soo to go to the police station. It turned out that the police had received a complaint. Someone had seen the murderer last night, and that person was Kwang Soo. The time Kwang Soo appeared coincided with the time the ward chairman jumped from the building. Kwang Soo calmly admitted that he went to the residential building last night, but the purpose was to deliver the goods. Apart from the short delivery time, he was on the rooftop partying all evening. There are many people who can vouch for Kwang Soo. Inspector Jung started asking questions again. During the time Kwang Soo was delivering the goods, it was reported that he was carrying a glue gun. Kwang Soo's brief encounter with the ward chief may have caused her to get burned in the eye. Kwang Soo then pushed her down the stairs. Inspector Jung's suspicions angered the supermarket employees because it sounded so unreasonable. Some employees held knives, others pushed carts to chase the police away. In the end, Kwang Soo still compromised with the police. Kwang Soo thought that the upright tree was not afraid of death, so he decided to go to the police station one more time. Not long after, So-yoon went to the counter to pay for the items she bought, but Kwang Soo's father accidentally saw the wound on So-yoon's hand. He was kind enough to help her treat the wound, but when he just raised his head, he saw So-yoon running away. So-yoon quickly ran to her father's store and informed her father that Kwang Soo was arrested by the police again because there was a witness proving that Kwang Soo was the criminal who murdered the ward chairman. Hearing So-yoon say that, her father immediately had his own calculations. At this time, Kwang Soo was sitting at the police station. The person who slandered Kwang Soo quickly arrived at the scene. He was the counterfeit money criminal. The next day, Do-hoon told Mrs. Lee that he wanted to leave work early. Mrs. Lee was about to accept when she suddenly received a phone call from Ah-hee. She informed Mrs. Lee that Do-hoon did not attend the party last night, and Ye-jin's house was coincidentally broken into. Therefore, Ah-hee was very suspicious of Do-hoon. She also reminded Mrs. Lee to keep an eye on Do-hoon. After hanging up the phone, Mrs. Lee panicked and said that the supermarket had just received an order from the kindergarten to make 30 portions of pork. Do-hoon had to stay and work. While Do-hoon was at work, Mrs. Lee called Cheon-kyu to her side and gave instructions. She asked the boy to keep an eye on Do-hoon Do-hoon and monitor where Do-hoon went and what he did. So Chung-kyu immediately disguised himself as a girl. After Do-hoon finished delivering the 30 portions of pork, he immediately went to the meeting place. Chung-kyu immediately informed Mrs. Lee of this. The place Do-hoon was going to was Ye-jin's apartment. However, today Ye-jin had packed her luggage to go to the meeting place of the mysterious person she had arranged to meet yesterday. Strangely, Ye-jin called the other party but no one answered. Chung-kyu was following Do-hoon when he accidentally tripped because of his high heels. When he looked up, Chung-kyu saw Do-hoon disappear, but surprisingly, Chung-kyu saw Ye-jin dragging her suitcase home. Immediately, Chung-kyu called Mrs. Lee to inform her. After Ye-jin returned home, she immediately locked the door, but while she opened the bathroom door, a force pulled her inside. Then a miserable sound rang out from inside, making everyone shiver. Not long after, Ah-hee received the news from Mrs. Lee. Ah-hee quickly went downstairs to Ye-jin's house. Before Ah-hee arrived, Do-hoon appeared in front of Ye-jin's house. Hearing the miserable sound inside, Do-hoon immediately broke the window and rushed into the house. Do-hoon then fought with the strange man. When Ah-hee chased and controlled the two, she knew that the man who attacked Ye-jin was Ye-jin's husband. It turns out that Do-hoon always noticed and knew that Ye-jin was always bullied by her husband. They will soon divorce. Do-hoon just wanted to protect Ye-jin, but Do-hoon's actions were a bit too much, leading to misunderstandings from everyone around. Seeing the perversion of her ex-husband, Chan-kyu suspected him of being the murderer of the people recently, but he had a passport proving that he had just returned to the country a few days ago. Basically, he was not present during the time of the incident. At the same time, Kwang-soo had just left the police station. Kwang-soo accidentally saw Haewon carrying a large bag on the street. Kwang-soo felt that the incident was a bit strange, so he decided to follow Haewon. The place Haewon went to was the hospital. The injured ward chairman was arranged to stay in this hospital. Outside her hospital room, there were also police guards. Haewon kept persuading the police to let her in. Then Haewon took out a bottle of detergent from her bag. Then she unscrewed the cap and held the bottle of detergent close to the ward chairman's nose. Haewon asked the ward chairman if he remembered this smell. It turned out that when the ward chairman fell from the upstairs, her body was covered in this smell. Haewon remembered that yesterday when she was lining up at the supermarket, she discovered this bottle of detergent. Haewon was sensitive to its strong smell, so when she met the ward chairman, Haewon quickly recognized this special scent. The ward chairman also seemed to notice something. She gave a signal but could not say it out loud. At this time, Kwang-soo also appeared and pulled Haewon away. When passing the reception desk, Haewon's curious nature arose again. Haewon met a familiar nurse to inquire about So-yoon's mother's condition. The nurse knew this hospital very well. She was sure that So-yoon's mother was not in this hospital. The nurse added that So-yoon's mother used to come to the hospital often to treat her husband's injuries, but she hadn't come here for a long time. This statement caught Kwang-soo's attention. Kwang-soo kept asking Haewon to understand the situation better. It turned out that So-yoon's mother was Vietnamese. She was often bullied by So-yoon's father before. Haewon worked at the cosmetics counter and she often saw So-yoon's father ordering concealer. He definitely wanted to hide the injuries on So-yoon's mother. Kwang-soo then returned to the supermarket. Kwang-soo's father immediately confided in Kwang-soo that So-yoon had come here during the day to buy things, but after paying, she didn't take the things with her. Kwang-soo thought for a moment and then took the initiative to bring the things to So-yoon. At this time, So-yoon was waiting for her father at the door of the real estate office. After hearing that Kwang-soo was released by the police, So-yoon affirmed that she knew he was not a criminal. At this time, So-yoon's father also appeared. He seriously warned Kwang-soo not to get close to his daughter. However, Kwang-soo soon discovered the wounds on So-yoon's hands. Kwang-soo asked her to tell the truth. The people at the supermarket were also present. Everyone promised to protect So-yoon, but So-yoon dismissed everyone's doubts. Then she and her father went home. However, after that, she stood by the window looking at Kwang-soo with complicated eyes. Everyone returned to the supermarket and saw the counterfeit money criminal fighting with Kwang-soo's father. It turned out that the counterfeit money criminal came to the supermarket again tonight. He blatantly spread Kwang-soo's criminal behavior. He even threatened to scare the customers away. Kwang-soo's father couldn't stand it anymore, so he fought with him. The counterfeit money criminal saw the crowd in the supermarket come back. Realizing that the situation was not good, he quickly ran away. Kwang-soo's father also took the opportunity to act spoiled with his wife. After calming down, Kwang-soo's father noticed Chung-kyu's flashy makeup. He curiously asked where everyone had gone and what they were doing. Chung-kyu replied that they had caught the harasser. Kwang-soo then told everyone about Haewon's strange things today. At that time, Haewon was carrying a bag on her back. Then she sneaked on the street. When she turned turned into an alley, she showed fear. Her breathing was rapid, but she continued to move forward. That night, two bad things were happening. The first was in So-yoon's house. So-yoon's father was packing his luggage and wanted to move to So-yoon's mother's place. At the same time, he was also angry because So-yoon lost her phone. That phone belonged to So-yoon's mother. At the same time, a miserable sound came from the house of the counterfeit money criminal. He struggled to escape from the room, but he was pulled back by the mysterious person. Early in the morning, Haiwan picked up a dog 100,000 won notice posted on the supermarket window. It was written that if the puppy was found, the owner would reward 100,000 won. After posting it, Haiwan went into the supermarket and called for everyone to look for the puppy. However, Kwang-soo knew Haiwan's personality very well. She was a person who lived for profit. If it was to make money, Haiwan would not share it with everyone like that. On the contrary, Haiwan would tear up all the dog $100 notices in the whole town and go looking for them alone. Haiwan's whereabouts were indeed very suspicious. While Haiwan was out, everyone gathered around to check Haiwan's bag, but inside there were only a few personal belongings. At this time, Haiwan also returned. Everyone immediately tried to distract Haiwan, but unexpectedly, Haiwan said that she had urgent matters to attend to. After speaking, Haiwan grabbed her bag and ran away. Kwang-soo saw Haiwan's strange actions, so he immediately ran after Haiwan. At the same time, Ah-hee found the person who stole the lost dog. The man cried out in injustice and even criticized the police for being too free. There are so many unsolved murder cases out there, yet they took the time to investigate the case of a lost dog. However, Ah-hee did not give him a chance to explain. She checked the cameras on the street and found out that he was the one who kidnapped the dog. After his evil deeds were exposed, he completely collapsed. But he explained that he did catch the dog, but while running away, he bumped into a fat woman and she took the dog away. The fat woman he was referring to was Haiwan. While checking Haiwan's backpack, everyone took a picture of Haiwan's notebook. In the notebook, there were Haiwan's makeup purchase receipts along with the names of some customers. At the back, Haiwan had marked stars for these customers. In particular, there was a customer with 2 stars. Mrs. Lee had an idea. Mrs. Lee started searching for the supermarket's membership system. Indeed, she found that the customers with stars were all women living alone. This made Mrs. Lee feel worried, so she stood up to look for the customer with 2 stars. In the end, Mrs. Lee discovered that the customer with 2 stars was the one who lost the dog. While Kwang-soo was following Haiwan, he unexpectedly found the lost dog. Kwang-soo carried the dog away to return it to its owner. Unexpectedly, Haiwan ran over and snatched the dog from Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo thought that she wanted to take away his credit, but it seemed that Haiwan had no such intention. On the contrary, Haiwan told the girl to quickly go home and not let that man harass her again. Kwang-soo and Mrs. Lee looked at each other in amazement. It turned out that they had misunderstood Haiwan before. Haiwan also said that she was protecting those girls. Not only that, in the evening, Haiwan also brought the girls who lived alone home safely. After knowing that everyone at the supermarket suspected her, Haiwan burst out laughing. Haiwan immediately explained about the asterisks. They were all girls who lived alone and needed protection. Although Haiwan considered money as her life, buying a cheap house because someone had died there still made her extremely happy. However, this cannot be compared to Haiwan's kindness. The one who deserves to die forever is that murderer. Not long after, Kwang-soo made an appointment to meet Ah-hee. Kwang-soo told her about the clues Haiwan discovered and the strong scent of detergent. Haiwan speculated that the smell of detergent was most likely due to the comatose ward chairman being locked in a small space, leading to the scent remaining on her body. Today, So-yoon's father went to the supermarket to buy things. When Haiwan saw that So-yoon's father intended to go far away, she immediately approached to ask. So-yoon's father said that his wife's health condition was unstable, so he wanted to go to the hospital to be with her for a few days. At this time, Kwang-soo asked him, "What about So-yoon? Who will look after her?" Hearing this, So-yoon's father once again warned Kwang-soo. The father said that So-yoon had been taken to her grandmother's house. He also emphasized that Kwang-soo was not allowed to go near the girl, but Kwang-soo criticized him for being afraid that his behavior of beating and scolding the child would be exposed, so he ran away. If he really went to visit his wife, why didn't he dare to say the name of the hospital? Se-yoon's father was agitated and immediately said the name of the hospital. Unexpectedly, it was the same hospital that Kwang-soo and Haiwan had previously investigated. However, it was clear that the nurse had said that Se-yoon's mother's name was not in the hospital, but Kwang-soo did not directly expose Se-yoon's father. While paying, Kwang-soo discovered that Se-yoon's father bought a lot of detergent and glue guns. Later, Kwang-soo's father was playing with a teddy bear. Unexpectedly, he found a bear with a hidden phone. The next day, So-yoon went to the supermarket supermarket again. Inspector Jung was still following Kwang-soo as usual. Inspector Jung still has not eliminated the suspicion of Kwang-soo. Suddenly, Se-yoon speaks up to confirm that Kwang-soo is not the killer. Inspector Jung wants to know why Se-yoon said that, but she does not want to reveal much information. She advises the police to do a good job. After speaking, Se-yoon goes to the claw machine again. Kwang-soo immediately goes to confirm whether Se-yoon has gone to her grandmother's house. Sure enough, Kwang-soo finds her locked alone in the house. So-yoon's father is really lying. Kwang-soo feels uneasy, so he saves his phone number in So-yoon's phone. At this time, So-yoon points to the claw machine. She worriedly asks who grabbed the bear inside. The girl realizes that a bear is missing. Kwang-soo then remembers that his father grabbed a bear yesterday. Kwang-soo agrees with So-yoon that he will go find the bear she likes and bring it back. Kwang-soo then told So-yoon to call him in the evening to get her girlfriend. However, So-yoon wondered what to do if she couldn't call or if someone didn't allow her to call. Kwang-soo thought for a moment and then told So-yoon that in that case she shouldn't say anything. If Kwang-soo received a silent phone call from her, he would definitely run to her house immediately. After saying that, Kwang-soo gave her a distress sign. At this time, Mrs. Lee went into the supermarket. Mrs. Lee saw that So-yoon intended to leave, so she took a toy egg from the shelf and gave it to her. This egg brought back the image of So-yoon's mother in her childhood memories. Every time she went shopping, her mother bought So-yoon a snack. However, So-yoon didn't feel happy. So-yoon said that she didn't like this item, but her mother always bought it for her because So-yoon's father didn't like her buying those snacks. Hearing this, Mrs. Lee immediately thought of So-yoon's strict father. Then, Mrs. Lee intentionally wet So-yoon's shirt. Mrs. Lee took this opportunity to change her shirt. Finally, she saw evidence of So-yoon's father's cruelty. She wanted to take a photo as evidence, but So-yoon refused because she didn't want to become an orphan. Then she wouldn't be able to see her mother. At night, Kwang-soo told this story to Inspector Jung in the hope that Inspector Jung could catch So-yoon's father, but Inspector Jung changed the subject. Inspector Jung said that he had other duties, and he wasn't free to handle this case. Kwang-soo got angry and put on his shirt. Kwang-soo wanted to find So-yoon's father to collect evidence to prove that he was too cruel to his wife and children. Kwang-soo also didn't forget to tell Inspector Jung not to forget his duty to follow him. Kwang-soo smashed the door of the real estate office and rushed in. He found a poster behind the wall. Here, Kwang-soo discovered a secret room. Inside were many kinds of toys, even a glue gun. Kwang-soo remembered the last time So-yoon appeared with disheveled clothes as if she had just run out from somewhere. It was very likely in this place. More and more evidence proved that So-yoon's father was the real culprit. No wonder So-yoon repeatedly insisted that the killer was not Kwang-soo. At this time, So-yoon's father also returned. He quietly entered, taking advantage of Inspector Jung's lack of vigilance. The father stabbed Inspector Jung seriously. Then the father also pushed Kwang-soo into the room. At this time, So-yoon was at the supermarket when she received a text message from her father. The father reminded her not to tell anyone else. The father asked her to go to the indicated location where she would meet her mother. Mrs. Lee saw her son and Inspector Jung go out together, but when she got there late, they still hadn't returned. She was very worried, so Mrs. Lee decided to go to So-yoon's house with Chan-kyu to check. But when she arrived, Mrs. Lee found that the main door was locked and there was no one inside. Mrs. Lee stood in front of the window and smelled the detergent that Haewon had mentioned. On this side, Ah-hee misunderstood that Kwang-soo had been arrested by Inspector Jung, leading to Kwang-soo not being able to return home. Ah-hee angrily rushed to the police station to demand the person, but she didn't expect that the other policeman also didn't know where Inspector Jung had gone. At this time, Ah-hee also received a phone call from Mrs. Lee. After knowing that So-yoon's house smelled of detergent, she immediately ran to the real estate office. At the same time, she asked for help from the police. As soon as she entered the office, Ah-hee saw Inspector Jung lying there. Blood was flowing non-stop. Kwang-soo was standing beside her, his body also covered in blood. Ah-hee knew that the murderer was not Kwang-soo, so she pushed Kwang-soo away. Then she called the police. At this time, Officer Kim also entered. Officer Kim asked Kwang-soo if he had killed anyone. Kwang-soo, who was mentally unstable, unconsciously admitted this. It turned out that Kwang-soo had brought Inspector Jung here, but Kwang-soo could not protect him. Ah-hee immediately told Kwang-soo to calm down. So-yoon had disappeared. The most urgent thing was to save her. Officer Kim brought out handcuffs to arrest the suspect, but Ah-hee begged Officer Kim to trust Kwang-soo this time. Let Kwang-soo have a chance to redeem himself. Officer Kim thought for a moment and then stepped aside. Officer Kim hoped that this time he would not choose wrongly. When So-yoon woke up, she found herself in an empty room. She tiptoed to the refrigerator in the living room. Unexpectedly, she found a dead body inside. The body belonged to the counterfeit money criminal. It turned out that last time he took a photo of So-yoon's mother. Not only that, when the ward chairman was murdered, he also secretly took a photo of So-yoon's father. After having enough evidence, the counterfeit money criminal threatened So-yoon's father. He asked So-yoon's father to cooperate with him. They would frame Kwang-soo as a murderer. In return, So-yoon's father only needed to arrange a decent place for him. However, So-yoon's father did not agree to cooperate with him. After that, So-yoon's father chose to kill to silence him. At this time, So-yoon's father calmly said cruel words to his daughter. He explained that the counterfeit money criminal had seen things he shouldn't have, so he had to suffer the punishment he deserved. After saying that, he took out a mysterious eggshell. He meant that there were other people who had to suffer the punishment. The smart So-yoon saw the mysterious egg and immediately remembered her mother. She said that she had kept her promise, so So-yoon's father also decided to take her to her mother's place. Unexpectedly, So-yoon's mother's place was in the refrigerator. Then the father took So-yoon out of the room. Before leaving, she reluctantly looked towards the refrigerator as a way to say goodbye to her beloved mother. The next day, Kwang-soo used the cardboard box as a disguise. Kwang-soo hid in the cashier to monitor everything outside. According to Kwang-soo's guess, So-yoon's father had gone to the supermarket yesterday to buy some canned food. Therefore, the father had not gone far and was definitely hiding somewhere. Sure enough, So-yoon's father was in the counterfeit money criminal's house. The instant noodles and soju that the father had bought were almost gone. However, the father was still contentedly lying down watching TV. So-yoon's expression, sitting next to her, was extremely sad. She didn't want to eat. Suddenly, the father lowered his head and asked So-yoon where she had hidden her mother's phone. He emphasized that if she didn't say it, the person holding the phone would definitely die. However, So-yoon didn't say anything. After thinking for a while, So-yoon's father felt that she must have hidden the phone in the supermarket. He immediately opened the supermarket's ordering app. Mrs. Lee also quickly received the order. She immediately put on the delivery box and started delivering the goods. When he heard the doorbell ring, So-yoon's father was ready to fight. However, after discovering that the delivery person was Mrs. Lee, So-yoon's father suddenly felt upset, wondered why it wasn't Kwang-soo who delivered the goods, because the person he really wanted to see was Kwang-soo. At this moment, So-yoon was sitting in the corner quietly shedding tears. She looked up at the phone on the sofa. After Mrs. Lee returned to the supermarket, she received a new order, but this new order was exactly the same as the previous one. The address was the same building, except that the note on the order had the number 505. A thought flashed through Kwang-soo's mind. Finally, Kwang-soo remembered the distress signal he had told So-yoon. At that time, she had said the word SOS, very similar to the number 5. This was So-yoon's distress signal. Haiwon was someone who knew the real estate in the area well. According to Haiwon's information, the address of this apartment was an empty room. However, the ward chairman often reported that the power source in the house was still working. Kwang-soo immediately felt something was wrong. Kwang-soo immediately ran to that address. Everyone in the supermarket also brought different tools and ran after Kwang-soo. So-yoon's father also heard the loud noises outside. The father immediately turned off the lights in the room to stay alert. At this time, So-yoon quickly ran away in the room. She closed the door and used a chair to block the door. So-yoon's father felt that something was wrong with his daughter, so he started to frantically break the door. So-yoon had no other choice but to escape from the balcony. She carefully stepped on the hot block of the air conditioner, but she could only escape this far. If she moved one more step, she would be in danger. At this time, So-yoon's father had broken the door. When he just looked out onto the balcony, he heard the voices of police, Kim and Ah-hee, chasing after him. So-yoon's father was scared and could only hide in the room. Ah-hee decided to use a rope to climb down the room. Below, Mrs. Lee and the supermarket staff had prepared a mattress in case of danger. At the same time, Chun-kyu was patiently picking the lock to open the door. Suddenly, Kwang-soo saw the door of the counterfeit money criminal's house next door. There was an electronic lock. Kwang-soo remembered the last time So-yoon's father appeared. At that time, So-yoon's father also bought a similar electronic lock. This type of lock was also available at his real estate office. Kwang-soo had a very strong feeling that So-yoon's father was in the counterfeit money criminal's house. At this time, Chun-kyu had already pried the door open. The boy called Kwang-soo to come inside quickly, but Kwang-soo told him to pry open the door of the counterfeit money criminal's house. Chun-kyu was a little skeptical, but he still did as Kwang-soo said. Then Kwang-soo entered the empty room and checked the surroundings carefully. Kwang-soo went straight to the refrigerator and immediately felt shivering. Meanwhile, Ah-hee successfully rescued So-yoon. But when Ah-hee asked So-yoon where her father was, So-yoon So-yoon could only cry and shake her head. Suddenly, a sound came from the room next door. Ah-hee immediately followed the sound and went there. She saw Kwang-soo standing there and staring at the two bodies in the refrigerator. Kwang-soo knew that the body in the refrigerator was So-yoon's mother. But what was more frightening was that So-yoon must have seen this horrible scene. Kwang-soo immediately picked up So-yoon, then he gave her to his mother to look after. At this time, Chun-kyu was in danger. The boy broke the electronic lock and went inside. So-yoon's father also quickly attacked the boy because he couldn't react in time. Chun-kyu was seriously injured. By the time Kwang-soo discovered Chun-kyu, So-yoon's father had already run away. Ah-hee and Kwang-soo could only follow closely, but when they entered the alley, they lost track of him. The two of them could only return to the real estate office to look for more clues. Kwang-soo felt that So-yoon's father could not leave this area because before, even though he had killed his wife, So-yoon's father still did not leave. There must be a reason for that. The supermarket staff began to show their strengths. They pretended to deliver goods to search for So-yoon's father everywhere. Hae-won, who had a good relationship, was the first to discover So-yoon's father. Hae-won immediately informed Kwang-soo of this news, but unexpectedly, So-yoon's father was one step faster than them. The father took Mrs. Lee hostage. Then he called Kwang-soo. Despite being brutally tortured, Mrs. Lee still insisted on not delivering Order 505. This was a warning signal. Kwang-soo quickly understood his mother's meaning. He realized the seriousness of the situation. So-yoon's father asked Kwang-soo to return his daughter to him. Kwang-soo also quickly replied that the girl was at the supermarket. Sure enough, not long after, So-yoon's father drove Mrs. Lee's motorbike to the supermarket. In the dark atmosphere of the supermarket, the two men met each other. Kwang-soo spoke first. Evidence of So-yoon's father's crime was saved on the phone. Kwang-soo handed the phone over to the police. But So-yoon's father did not show any signs of panic. The father just wanted to take his daughter away. The father also warned Kwang-soo not to meddle in other people's business anymore. Just because of this personality, Kwang-soo had been in danger many times. Had he forgotten everything? Kwang-soo did not answer. He just silently pressed the switch to close the rolling door. This time, Kwang-soo locked himself with the vicious criminal. The two were having a fierce fight. Kwang-soo thought about the deaths of the customers in his heart. His mission was to protect the supermarket's customers. The customers were also his relatives, so he would make this evil murderer pay. After a fierce fight, So-yoon's father was knocked down by Kwang-soo. Kwang-soo picked up his familiar peach juice can. He originally intended to throw it at So-yoon's father's head, but in the end he suppressed his anger. At this time, the rolling door was opened. Police Kim and Ah-hee arrested So-yoon's father. So-yoon's father said that Kwang-soo was really a busybody, but Kwang-soo replied that he simply wanted to protect the people he loved. Kwang-soo only hoped that the supermarket's customers today, tomorrow, and in the future could continue to come here to shop. After So-yoon's father was taken away, Mrs. Lee cried and hugged Kwang-soo tightly. This boy has not changed at all. He is still a brave, smart, and kind person. After a while, the small town has returned to peace. Ye-jin, after a period of rest, also returned to work at the supermarket. Her relationship with Do-hoon has taken a step forward. Hae-won volunteered to be the president of the Women's Association. Kwang-soo's father sells vegetables at the vegetable stall. Chun-kyu still works at the fresh food stall. Chun-kyu can finally reveal his identity. Now Chun-kyu can live openly as a woman. Inspector Jung apologized for his previous mistake after being discharged from the hospital. Kwang-soo also accepted Inspector Jung's apology. So-yoon went to live with her grandmother. So-yoon started a new life in another country. So-yoon's life is very happy. More importantly, Ah-hee's father had a different view of Kwang-soo. He went to the supermarket himself to test his son-in-law. Once again, only this time, when asked about his future plans, Kwang-soo had different thoughts. Kwang-soo was no longer afraid because protecting the neighborhood and serving customers was his greatest dream. Here the movie ended. Thank you for watching, and now, goodbye and see you again.